Watch out, it's a live mic.
This is Mark McNease in New York City with my co-host Rick Rose in Shreveport, Louisiana, and you're listening to another edition of Live Mic Weekend. Welcome to another weekend podcast, Rick. How are you?
Oh my God, it's such your NPR voice, Mark.
It was, wasn't it? I'm practicing because I posted on Facebook this morning. I feel renewed in the fall, you know, like a lot of people, or spring too, but for me, the big time when I just feel like, oh, I'm like, let's do new things and create new things in our lives, is for me, it's the autumn. And that's where I'm at right now. It's like, I think I'm done with the gay mysteries. I really do. They kind of played out and I did it. I gave it my best shot. But I was feeling with this last one that it wasn't what I aimed for. And so I'm certainly putting it aside for a long time. And I'm getting back into my photography and the podcasting and LGBT senior. So I feel like totally energized and like there's space now for some new things in my life. Where was this going?
Well, I don't know. Your NPR voice was.
Oh, my NPR voice. Yeah. Podcasting, baby. You know, I've been doing this for like 2.5 years. I love doing it. But I've never really been able to like really focus on it. So I might, and I might not, but it's all about the voice.
Our worlds collide. I mean, I get to talk to you once a week as friends and people can like listen in on our conversation kind of.
Right. And the interviews are coming back starting next week. The Live Mic with Mark is going to be, you know, the weekly podcast with a guest on each week, which is
it should be. I mean, we used to do that with LGBTSR. We used to have our own little podcast where we interviewed, you know, gay friends and allies, and it was really exciting. So I'm glad you're really good with interviewing. And when you use that voice, though, I think of sweaty balls. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, like Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
Speaking of allies, let's launch into this. Popes all over the place. And I actually had a video because I was walking home Friday night and I could not get across 34th Street. It was completely barricaded. And you could not cross. They'll shoot you if you try to cross the street. So I'm stuck there for 10 or 15 minutes and here comes the motorcade.
Cool.
And I got a video of it. I like this Pope. I don't agree with him on everything, but I don't need to. I don't know. I don't understand why people have to bring that up. Well, he's not where I am on women's reproductive rights and all this other shit. I don't care. I like the man. I think he's humble. I love his focus on the poor. And it was exciting. I think he's a huge presence for good on the planet.
Yeah, all my friends in New York City said that the city was vibrating the last couple of days that he was there and speaking at Madison Square Garden. Yeah, I agree. I think that the expectation is he's the president of the world is what people want to put him at, because he's kind of crossing into that realm. I mean, first Pope to ever address the U.S. Congress, you know, all these things. And so the expectations of him are higher than they really need to be. Just let him be and let it happen, you know, and it is happening. You're right. Some powerful images. Speaking of photography, do you see the images of him holding lepers and Down syndrome people and people that are living with cerebral palsy?
Yeah. So he did lepers.
Well, something like that.
Does anybody have leprosy anymore? But I don't know, but
this guy's face was gone.
Oh my God, yes, the disfigured man. I read about that. Yes. But he's just very powerful, and he's so humble, and it's that's what turns me on, because that's what I've always liked about how I perceive Christianity.
I agree, and you know what was really interesting as it relates to the LGBT world and all that. He had that one gentleman who's the Latin guy, Mo Rocca, actually read one of the messages at Madison Square Gardens, and he's an out, you know, gay man, and they said
Mo Rocca, guy from the TV reporter.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Mo Rocca. Yeah. But by letting him read it, they said it was the Pope's way of acknowledging the LGBT community. They said it was a big move for the Pope to appoint him to do the reading.
Right. I like Mo Rocca. I know he's gay. So is that it for the popes?
Yeah, that's it for the popes. What do you think?
I love him, but I have this weird habit now of putting an S on the end of everything. I do. Frank and I do it all the time. Like I'll say, I'm cooking, I'm taking showers. You know, I make everything plural. It's weird.
Hey, speaking of the fall and changes and all these good things, last weekend we just finished the LGBT Film Festival here in Shreveport, where I'm speaking from this morning. I was North. What are you doing? Are you
I
hitting
was
something?
applauding the LGBT, the
Oh
Queer
yeah,
Film
yeah, it was a
Festival in
great one.
Shreveport.
And our friend Robert Camina, who we had as a guest on our podcast when we were podcasting together, had a film come out this year called Upstairs Inferno about the great fire that killed. I say great as in large fire that killed
Yes.
28 or 20 some people down in New Orleans back in the 70s. Do you know that story?
Not only do I know it, but I also know that they were MCCers. That was a
Oh my
Metropolitan Community
God, you
Church
gave me
group.
chills that you know. Yeah, and Troy Perry, our buddy, who we've had on here, our podcast as well, was a big part of the film because he's the one that, as the head of the MCC, worldwide church, he's the one that showed up to try to get things to change down there. Powerful movie.
Yes, I will look
But
for it.
yeah, I mean, Robert did one about Dallas place with it. Anyway, my point is that this fall, all these cities are really kind of launching because October is LGBT month in the United States. They're announcing putting out these walking tours that they have. You can go to New Orleans, for instance, and go on a tour. There's like 3 or 4 tours that the city promotes, one of which is led by a guy named Robert Batson. It's his Gay Heritage Tour. It takes off at 909 Bourbon Street, and you go, and for like $20 or whatever, I think in his case it's $20, you go to places of import. You go to the Tragic Upstairs Lounge, learn about it. You learn about how cross-dressing played out in the city, the Gay Liberation Front. You see the Anita Bryant protests where that happened. You see where Tennessee Williams used to hang out, all these really cool things. So New Orleans has them, Miami has them. It's called the Miami Design Preservation League that puts it on there. New York City has like the Oscar Wilde tours. Rick
Oh yeah,
Raymond does
definitely.
a tour. Yeah, it's cool. There's one called the Big Onion in the Greenwich Village for $20. San Francisco, Chicago, they all have them. The one I think is interesting in Chicago, they have one called Sexual History of Chicago tour. It's $15. No reservations are needed. You just show up to join and take a walk and learn
But I wonder if
gay
you need a
history.
license, because now I'm thinking of another career. Like, there's got to be some kind of tour that I could give. Really?
You could. I mean, I do them here, the haunted tours, and you don't need a license.
Why not Gay
You
New
look into
Hope?
it.
Gay New Hope, or
Yeah,
something.
I like it.
Or gay, like out here in the country. Like I could give tours of the house.
You could. where LGBTSR, where you type on the computer.
Yes, where
Other
we get
cities
old,
do.
where we age gracefully.
That's right. London does them, Copenhagen, Amsterdam, Johannesburg. Anyway, I thought it was cool. I mean, you hear about these tours, you see them, but I never knew there were, quote, gay specific ones. Did you?
No, I did certainly in the village
With
and
Oscar
stuff
Wilde,
like that.
yeah. Cool.
Speaking of gay stuff, because for a minute I thought I don't have any gay topics this week, but we dumped Hillary because who cares?
Because she's not gay.
So well, and it wasn't really a gay topic. It
Well,
was
she's
mostly
gay,
it
but
was
she's not
about
gay
like
friendly,
it was
yes.
about like her white gay men seeing her as a diva, but in an icon. But anyways, instead, now this may not mean anything to you, but I write mysteries, gay mysteries, or I did. And the big thing in the gay mystery world this week, in the gay romance, stands for male on male, is that Josh Lanyon, who is probably the most successful gay mystery writer out there for the last 15 years, came out as a woman. Now, that was rumored, and it was like this open secret for years because there are no photographs of Josh Lanyon anywhere online. So it was kind of like a wink and a nod thing, like I think she's a woman, but does it really matter? And like she's got thousands of fans. That's what I mean. Josh Lanyon, was really, really successful. But finally, he came out on his blog as a woman. I think it's Diana Killian, I believe is her name. But anyways, it was like this like big conversation in that world about appropriation. Now that I'm sure you're familiar with. Rachel Dolezal says she's black and she's obviously white, and then you have we live in a time now where people don't want their cultures appropriated, I guess. You got blacks saying whites don't steal my shit, and then this poet, a white poet, submitted a poem under a Chinese pen name and got into an anthology of best poems for the year. And that was a big brouhaha. So that's what's been going on with the Lanyon thing. And on the one hand, you have like lots and lots of fans and people saying it doesn't matter. The books are great. I don't care if it's a woman. But then you have other people who have said, wait a minute, it's not the same. It's one thing to write under a pen name. Most romance is written by women. They dominate the genre. They write for each other. There's just something about white, because most of them are white. I mean, maybe I don't need that qualifier. But there's something about these sort of straight housewives writing gay romances that it's created this whole sub-world, which is cool. But Lanyon went beyond that. You know, she presented herself as a gay man, and she certainly allowed everybody to think she was a gay man. She gave interviews in which she did not correct the interviewer who referred to her as a man. So it became, there's an element of appropriation in it. And it was just like this big thing, you know. And what I ended up saying was, because most people missed the point. Most people they just totally didn't get it and thought that we were complaining that a woman was writing gay fiction. Nobody gives a shit that a woman writes gay fiction. But don't pretend to be a gay man. Don't let the world believe and your readers believe that you're a gay man with that experience. You're not. So I'm glad she came out, but I'll close by saying I said it should have been a story a long time ago. That was my only thing, was like, people suspected this for 15 years. So if it wasn't a story then, if it wasn't worth somebody exposing her, because somebody said, well, should she be outed? And I said, it's exposing, it's not outing. And some queer journalist a long time ago should have seen a story there and done a story. And it would have been perfectly valid to expose the fact that you've got this woman making thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars writing gay fiction as a gay man. But it's too late now. And she came out, and I hope we're getting to a point where we just don't need to do that shit anymore. If I write a lesbian mystery, it's going out under my name. And if the lesbians don't want to read it because the guy wrote it, I don't care. That was too long. I'm so sorry.
No, it wasn't too long. But speaking of which, it's all about identity and claiming your identity. And, you know, we talked a few weeks ago in the green room. We were doing a story on colleges allowing you to use proper pronouns when it comes to transgender women, transgender men, et cetera, and how that's all changing. And what you're speaking to reminds me of even beyond that now. A lot of colleges, I know they're doing it at State University of New York, which is one of the nation's largest public college systems. They announced that this fall, as students were entering, they're in the process of working on a collection tool that's going to let students choose among 7 different gender identities. So when you go to school, when you apply for the school, when you attend, sign up and register for classes, etc., you don't have to just say, like in my case, gay man or whatever. You can be trans man, questioning, gender queer. And I know they're doing it also at the University of California, another large system where they let students choose from labels including trans female, gender queer, et cetera. And I find it interesting, Mark. Part of the reason they're doing it is because they want to gather information because they think it's about time that schools start tracking data on how transgender students fare on campuses, what their graduation rates become, is being transgender in college accepted? How does that impact your student life? How does it impact your study life, your academics? And it's a system they say is long overdue. So anyway, it's interesting. It's your subject and mine is just can't we someday just be who we are and just in full disclosure, let us be who we are and claim who we are and all that good stuff.
Yes, and I think my only comment on that, you didn't have any comment about Lanyon, but that's okay because it's not a world.
No, this is kind of a feed off of that.
Well, yeah, and it's also a world I don't think you're probably familiar with or care about. But what was I going to say? Oh, it's just I've noticed that like gender is the one thing that we can just pick whatever we want to pick. Right. Like, and it's not. I'm trying to be neutral here. It's like Rachel Dolezal is a white chick, but she believes that she's black. She apparently actually believes that. Right. And so it doesn't bother me. She believes she's black, but she was completely like excoriated. So why is gender the one thing where I can just say I'm like whatever the fuck I just said I am?
And no one can
why is gender the only thing that's fluid, where we get to just make it up? I don't. You know what I mean? God, I got to be careful.
No, I do. It ties it all together. Just be who you are, and can't we just say who we are, and therefore by saying who we are. It's interesting.
Yes, it is interesting. And
Yeah, it also reminded me, like just as a quick aside on that, with college students entering this year. This year, most of the 18-year-olds entering college were born in 1997. So for them, their whole lives, they've never lived in a time when Princess Diana was alive or Mother Teresa was alive. These were people that were deceased by 97 that they don't know. Like they're in our iconograph, they're in our life. We know them. But we used to have that guest on every year that did the mind list that came out of my college.
Yeah.
Remember Tom McBride? And it kind of put context to where college students are today, the things they know. Like, for instance, let me give you one that's on the list. It's a great list, folks. Go to Mind List 2015, Mind List 2015. It tells you it's used for us to understand the mind of people going into college. And I tested it on my nephew who's 18, is going into college. They've never licked a postage stamp in their life, Mark. Think about it. Little thing like that.
Right.
He's
And
like,
they were not at Stonewall, but they certainly seem to know who threw the first brick.
exactly. Exactly. Ding, ding, ding. Another subject. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, the reviews for that movie are not coming out favorable, are they?
Yeah, no, the reviews are bad, so I'm not going to go see it. But I took a stand early on and said, I'm not, because I've always just been this way. I'm not going to like boycott or sign petitions about something I have not seen or a book I haven't read. I just don't believe in that. So I was waiting to hear from people who saw it. Now they're saying it sucks.
Everybody
it's horrible.
was waiting. Robert Camino, who I referred to earlier, posted it all over the place because he wanted to know what it was. But speaking of things that they say they see that they haven't seen, how about that Carly Fiorina? She got caught in a little bit of a lie, and she still contends that it's not a lie. What do you think of that?
What was the lie about the fetus movie?
Yes, about the fetus movie. And she claims it was a real movie, and she really did see it. Others say the movie did not happen.
No, it's weird. She was talking about those undercover videos, but she made it sound like there was a video of a fetus. I don't know. We're getting off topic, but maybe we just drop some other topics so we don't go over.
Yeah, because it's a good topic. She's in the news this week, and you have strong feelings. You were telling me in the green room about her.
Well, speaking of privilege, someday we'll just devote a whole podcast to privilege. But Carly Fiorina is like really privileged, and it's funny. I just a real quick aside. Whenever I have trouble with the privilege concept, because what I think of is that I've always been aware of heterosexual privilege, like heteronormative privilege, is just part of our experience when we're not heterosexual. So I remember that when I hear, people talking about privilege. That's how I'm able to understand it. But Carly Fiorina is privileged. She's like a rich white woman, and she wants to destroy Planned Parenthood that provides health services and reproductive services for primarily poor women. I think it's horrible.
It is horrible. I mean, look at Boehner's feeling. Boehner had to step down. I know that's your other subject, but he had to step down because the Pope told his ass to get out of there. That's why I think it really happened.
Do you think the Pope said get out of here?
I do. I think on their one-on-one meeting, it went something like this. The Pope, he's all excited about the Pope crying like a little pussy boy, but it was great. I mean, that wasn't nice of me. I mean, it was probably very moving for Boehner to see the Pope speak, and I'm sure I would have cried too, whether I was Catholic or not. But I think it went like this, Mark. I think it was like Boehner saying, Pope, I keep you in my prayers, and the Pope looked him in the eyes and said, and
Stop
I keep
smoking.
you in my prayers, child. And out he went. And he knew the Pope was saying, pushing his butt out of there, and said, it's time to move on.
Well, I totally support Boehner's move. I think it's great. It's like I wouldn't have lasted 25 years. I would have said, you know what? You're some just fucked up people. I'm getting out of here. So he did.
Yeah, I think he could do that too. And it's clean to, open it up for, it'll be interesting who his replacement is, but we're not going to close down the government now because he's leaving, right?
Well, I hope, at least not for a couple of weeks. They're going to save it for Christmas.
It's interesting. I got a subject.
Muppets. Let's end on the Muppets.
On the Muppets, yes, because it ties in with the real world. Yes, that group of 1 million moms, which may be men too, because God only knows people telling the truth about who they are. But the group that was, vital in this, or not successful, but vital in trying to, when they got upset by Sears and tried boycotting because Ellen DeGeneres was their spokesperson, these are people who have taken on Chobani Yogurt, Toys R Us. Yes, we knew it was going to happen. The new Muppet Show launched on ABC September 22nd. And, of course, there's a petition on their official website saying we need to stop the show. It's not family-friendly, makes kids understand people as perverts. For God's sake, Kermit the Frog better start wearing his pants, and Miss Piggy is not a pro-choice feminist, and we have to now have conversations with our kids watching these shows that we shouldn't have to talk about. Ridiculous.
Well, it's not a children's program.
Exactly. I
They're
looked back.
puppets.
Yes, and you know, because you worked with the Muppets in your career, you know.
It's like Avenue Q. Don't think that this is a kid show. This is not.
Exactly.
This is not Barney. You know.
It's so true. And they said actually when Henson created them in his original 76 pitch for the Muppet Show, he said, yeah, small children will love these cute and cuddly characters. I'm quoting this. Young people will love the fresh and innovative comedy. College kids and intellectual eggheads will love the underlying symbolism of everything. Freaky long-haired cynical hippies will love our freaky long-haired cynical Muppets because that is what show business is all about.
Well, here we are. And then, of course, Sesame Street's not even on PBS anymore, I don't think. It's
HBO.
Going to HBO.
What the heck is up with that?
Well, I think it's a good move. So this way they can't be threatened by to have their funding cutting all the time. Okay, listen, it's the weekend out here. We're headed into New Hope. We're going to go for a good long walk. And I will be back with you next weekend.
Yes, and I remind you, Mark, 8 p.m. tonight. Look for it. 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. my time. This Sunday, the long-awaited supermoon eclipse.
Oh, yes. The blue
If you
moon.
miss it tonight, you won't see it for about 18 more years. Yes, tonight, about 47 minutes in totality. The big thing there, you guys, the moon is going to be bigger than it's ever been, like almost 15% larger than its normal size.
I'll meet you in the field.
Okay, see you out there.
Bye.
Bye.